had the foot race that they talked about for so many years at UCLA in their college years. But
can you imagine what that foot race would look like now? Holy.
That's a cane in a wheelchair, right? Jeez.
Probably like Joe Cap fighting that dude at the Canadian football thing.
Oh, geez.
They never had the foot race, but you get to hear them spar every once in a while here on AM 570 LA Sports as Dawn is in for Matt. EK working at Spectrum Sportsnet LA, one of our favorite Dodgers of all time, leading home run hitter in the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers franchise. Throughout the first pitch is the last time we saw him in happier times. Last Tuesday. Now it's all over. And it's all 1 week, six days, and it's evaporated. EK, what a wild disappointment for everybody, but it's baseball. How do you process this kind of stuff?
Well, for the record, Petros, I do have to remind you that first pitch, that was a victory that night, right?
Oh, yeah,
Saxy and myself out there. Okay, just make sure. I thought Donnie Mac on. I thought we were going UCLA football or talking about NBA opening.
We can.
We're doing Dodger stuff now.
I mean, we thought
I thought that's over.
We kind of figured we would pitch it to you, and like I would do the college football stuff. Don would handle the NBA. We're like, well, who's going to talk about the Dodgers' abject failure in the playoffs? Let's get EK on to discuss it.
I was a dummy that answered, right?
Yeah, that's true. Cates is like, he's always on time. Don't worry, he's going to call.
Just a bad time to have a bad 4 games, bad 3 games, I guess it was. Started off nice, got to Clevenger right away, and just, it sounds, nobody wants to hear it, but the reality is they had stretches this year where they didn't play well for a couple of games, and they didn't play well. I can go back to, I did 3 games earlier this year at home. Pittsburgh Pirates, who arguably might be the worst team in baseball this year. Pirates swept them. And so it's, again, it's not an excuse or anything, but that blank happens. It happens, and it just happened at an inopportune time.
One thing that was noticeable, EK, and I was saying to P and Tim earlier about one of the MVPs of the Padres organization was the guy who handled the tickets at Petco because there wasn't any Dodger fans there. So my question to you is, I know how much an environment and a crowd can affect a road team in basketball. How much do you think that was a factor down there in those last 2 games?
So it doesn't, as a visitor, it doesn't really impact you, but as a home team, it can absolutely ignite you. And I think that if you look at that 7th inning where it's, Dodgers are up 3-0, the thing about it, even though they were up 3-0, the momentum, because Musgrove only allowed, he only allowed 1 run that inning. It could have been, the Dodgers could have scored a few. They had bases loaded. I think only scored 1 run. They could have opened things up right there. And the fact that down 3-0, the crowd just, was at another level. My daughter and son-in-law were down there, and they said they'd never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. And kind of sparked them. And so it's not going to impact the Dodgers as much as it's going to lift up the Padres. And the reality is, as you mentioned, ticket group down there did an unbelievable job of not selling tickets to Dodger fans. And look, they had the home field advantage.
You can't ignore the way things happen every single year. It feels like the Dodgers have a great regular season and they get into the playoffs and things don't work out. I know they made it to a couple World Series and won the World Series in the shortened season, and that should not be ignored. But it's hard to sit there and tell Dodger fans that today after all of our, commercials for the last 3, epic win, the Dodgers are gonna go. We were counting our chickens pretty liberally here, EK. Is there something the Dodgers need to do going forward? What needs to be addressed? It looked like San Diego was the hungrier team, the harder playing team, the team that wanted to win more.
So, both you guys, playing sports and everything, that whenever you lose, it always, the other team wanted it more. They were hungrier. Or they had a bigger heart. And that is, that's not real. Okay, that's not real. It may look that way, but that's not the reality of it. And if you could just say, hey, the Dodgers got beat in this arena, or they got beat in this arena, or they got beat here, then maybe you could address something specific, right? Look at there were some defensive miscues. There was some inopportune pitching, and quite frankly, the reality is that the offense that we were accustomed to all year long, outside of the first couple innings in Game 1, just wasn't really there. And so what are you going to attribute it to? Are you going to say, well, it was the layoff? Was it San Diego? Outside of Clevenger, they've got some arms, and those guys pitched. They pitched extremely well. They went in and beat the Mets, and they had some momentum going. You can say all these different things. Like I said, it doesn't. The Padres played better those 4 games. Actually, they didn't play better for 4 games. They played better for 3 games. That's what they did, and it just happened to be that the timing was at the worst possible time for the Dodgers.
Well, without your first pitch, though, they'd have been swept.
I'm telling you, the first pitch. Look at Saxy and myself. I mean, let's go. Credit where credit is due, right? Jeez. No, I mean, and that, you guys were broadcasting from the field that day too. Let's not forget that, right?
That's true,
you look at. I mean, you can pick apart this thing 1,000 different ways, right? And you can go down whatever area you want. You can be frustrated at this guy or that guy or this decision or a non-trade or whatever. But look at San Diego. Fact is, Hader is sick. Okay, had 3 saves, and he wasn't anything the last or when they got him at the trade deadline. Soto finally got some hits. Trent Grisham has been non-existent all year, and then decided to show up for the postseason. And if you could just turn things on and off, it'd be easy to do. But there's a timing factor, and there is. I don't care what anybody says. To win a championship, you've got to have an element of luck. You have to. You just have to.
Part of that luck, EK, is health, and that transcends all sports. Like, if you're trying to win a championship, your team has to stay healthy. And I know it would be easy to sit here and say, okay, if Buehler doesn't go down, if Gonsolin's not hurt for a couple months, maybe things are different. But from your point of view, would it have been different had health not been a thing for the Dodgers?
I think it's much different, right? Your pitching staff, and let's not. You mentioned those guys are starters, right? What about? I'll go back to this from day one. I was at the game. Daniel Hudson going down. He was a guy that was, he arguably could close, right? And Trinan was down for a while. Those sort of things, they do impact, and every team deals with that. And that's not. Okay, would it have been different? Yeah, but the Dodgers were still, and I would still argue that if you're talking about the best team, and you have to put them in the top 3 of baseball. I'd put Houston up there, and I would put Atlanta up there, and Atlanta is gone. And I don't think anybody in their right mind would sit and say that, live or die, give me the 3 best teams in baseball. Give me the 3 best teams in baseball. And I would say that outside of the Astros, I don't think any of those teams are there.
And yet,
in the postseason,
they're still playing. It's confounding, these baseball playoffs, and Dodger fans are confounded. The great Eric Karros, Spectrum Sportsnet, Fox, Major League Baseball, and a friend of our show and a Bruin for life, joining the Petros and Money Show at AM 570. Whether Maricosta High or UCLA, Eric Karros.
We got the Beavers, Oregon State. The Ducks.
Ducks coming up on Saturday. Yeah. I'm excited. Right? We're going to look into that on today's show. We'll discuss the Ducks. They look a lot like other Duck teams, even though
UCLA just came out basketball, number 8 preseason.
That's right.
What do you think, man? Is that right?
That is. I was at practice on Saturday. They look good. They got a couple freshmen that are going to be really good, and they got 2 seniors that are coming back to lead the charge. Yeah, they're for sure a top 10 team.
All right. So all things are good. Look at baseball season is over. It's on to the next, right? The reality is UCLA is a lot to talk about.
You're right, EK. You're right, but you are a baseball analyst after all.
Right.
There is going to be a hot stoving and we're going to have it here. We're going to talk to Vassay, and he's going to act like he knows something, and then. But I mean, how different do you expect the team to look? There's a lot of, like there is every year. There feels like there's a lot of decisions to be made.
Yep, it's going to be different. There's no question it's going to, and I think there's probably going to be some. There's going to be some significant difference as far as what Dodger fans have been accustomed to, and that's a guess, right? And the first thing you have to find out is who's playing shortstop. Is Trey Turner going to be playing shortstop for you or not? And then you kind of go from there. And then, there's some other guys out there, or are you going to move Gavin over to his natural position, play him at short? What are you going to do from the pitching staff, the starting staff? Are you going to try and trade? Are you going to, what's Kirsch doing? You hope that Kirsch comes back. Julio is a number one. You got May and Gonsolin. What are you going to do with the outfield? I think you've got, Mookie 100% is playing right field, and then, what do you decide? Are you, Cody? Do you run him back out there? I mean, it's tough to give up on a guy or move on. He's 26 years old. He's a great talent, but on the flip side, there's, where do you go? You didn't play him in Game 4. You didn't start him. What's left field look like? What are you doing with JT? That's 1 year. For me, I'm bringing him back, but there's so many decisions. But it all starts at short, right? All starts at short. You have to see what happens there.
Is it because EK they didn't win that you're saying all that? Like if they had won or at least gotten to the World Series, would you still think there'd be a lot of decisions to be made?
I think, yeah. I think there's not, so very rarely. I mean, look at the Braves. The Braves won a World Series last year. Bullpen, completely different. Traded arguably let their leader walk, right, in Freddie. And so they traded for, that's the whole point, is that you can win, and there's going to be change. And if you do stay status quo, you usually don't run it back the next year. I mean, the last time there was a repeat National League World Series winner, you got to go back to the 75-76 Big Red Machine. That's crazy when you think of that. And so, look, even if they would have won a World Series, there's going to be change. That's just, it's inevitable. And the reality is, you got to figure out, you start at short and then move on from there.
Fall turns to winter. The young become the old. Everything must change. I mean, we never thought we'd see, Jared Karros playing for the Dodgers, Kyle Karros playing at UCLA. My God.
Oh, boy. All right. Goes quick.
The McLean boys scattered all over colleges in California.
Don't I know?
San Diego State, Santa Barbara.
Yeah. God, it seems like yesterday I went to a Miracosta High football game to watch some running back from Peninsula that was like a Greek running back that's supposed to be good.
Marlboro Lights at halftime.
Yeah. That was Petros, man. Can you believe it?
We love you, EK. We appreciate you, and have a great off-season.
All right, gentlemen.
And we're gonna hot stove you.
All right, I'm ready.
Get ready for the hot stove call.
All right, take care, guys.